Welcome. In today's video, we're going to go over the shift differentials. I'll try to cover as much as I can. Shift differentials are capable of being configured many different ways for many different reasons, but we'll try to get the basics out of the way as far as that goes. So, in order to do this, you would go to Configuration, Rule Setup, and then Shift Differentials. I have one already created here. Let's take a look at this. Now, we give it a name, and these are the minimums that I need for a basic differential. So, the differential in OT and DT, overtime and double time. Require contiguous time means that one shift must touch another in order to be paid. No minimum required, which means, if I go over one time in one differential shift to another time in another differential shift, I'm basically going to be able to capture both of those shifts. Sometimes if I don't want the rate to change, if they bleed over into another shift for 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, I may put a minimum in that shift for them to be met in order to get the rate for that shift. Fallback differential, contiguous, again, touching shifts, no shift differential, or assigned shift. Again, that's a fallback in case something happens and the system doesn't know where to put their time for whatever reason, the way the shift was made, or the employee's clocking in. The fallback shift, which would be these, is going to be as worked. So if I work on a Saturday, my shift diff amount is 20% of my rate. If I work on a Monday, then it's simply going to be nothing. As worked. Include diff in bill dollars. That's if you're using a bill rate. Best of any, so they get the rate on the shift that they worked the longest, or rate of the assigned shift, because we would assign a specific shift when we go to the employee, or assign work shift by their clock in. So if I've got multiple in here and the employee clocks in at midnight, it's going to assign this shift to them, and whatever is paid is what they get. So these are the basic things up here to consider when making a shift. As I'm looking down here, I can really see two shifts. Number one, and number 3. Reason being is this is a weekend shift, and this is the amount they get. Also down here, same thing. This one is a Monday through Friday shift, so it's just one shift that's been copied 4 times, but it retains all of this type of information. This is a very basic shift, and what this shift does is if an employee works on the weekend, then they get the added 20% to their rate if they're working on the weekend. Otherwise, Monday through Friday is just normal rate. So we'll go ahead and close this. I can add a shift group. Do I want to copy an existing one? Yeah, we'll go ahead and copy this one. When I do the copy, and that's the only one here, obviously if my drop down that's it, I click copy. It creates a duplicate. The main reason I want to copy is to keep all this so I don't mess up and forget to check anything if that's what I need from the shift that I'm copying. I need to give it a new name because it will allow me to save 2 with the same name. So my shift diff, and I'm going to delete all of these because I really don't need them. They're from the last shift. I'm going to add new. We'll start with Sunday, and we're going to call this number 1, and we'll call it morning, and we'll do, say, 7 a.m. to 3:30. I could also use the clock here to choose those if I want. Minimum worked. I want to make sure somebody works at least 60 minutes in this shift before they qualify for any benefit of the shift. Now, I'm not going to give a differential for this, but I really just need 24 hours in a block of a day so the system knows what to pay or not. So I don't need this here. I can leave this at N. I don't worry about this or this. The reg code might simply just be regular OT and DT. It just depends on what codes your payroll needs to define these as normal worked time. I go ahead and save this. Actually, I'll change this to number 2. I'll create a number 1, and just to keep it smooth and flowing, we're going to go from midnight to 7, and minimum worked, I might put 60, I might not. We're going to call this one Graves. And a dollar amount here using this and say 2.00 would give them $2 on top of their pay rate in the software. This would be 2% more than their pay rate in the software. And then this would be, they just simply get $2 an hour, not their pay rate, not anything else. So there's different ways that you can use this to apply a rate to the employee. Obviously, we're not going to give them $2 an hour. That might, could be something like $32 an hour at a fixed rate just to work this. Most people are going to use the dollar, and they're going to use this here for X amount more than what their particular rate is per hour worked, simply for working Graves. This might be D1. This might be D2, and if they use double time, perhaps D3. When the time is exported to Payroll, Payroll looks at these and will either automatically apply this rate or know that it's paid in a shift differential and may have other areas in Payroll. Most times Payroll, just by using the earnings code, is all it needs. It doesn't need to know this or this. But if you're going to run reports within time and you want to see these items from a report in time, you should put them here. But the differential code that you're going to be applying here based on what Payroll needs is really what's going to be doing the calculations as far as the employee's rate goes and what they're being paid for it. So I'll save that, and then we'll do another Sunday. So 3:30, well, we're going to call this number 3, and mids, and we'll do 3:30 to midnight. Minimum time worked, we'll go with what we're doing, 60 minutes. Again, that's up to you and your policies on whether that should be in effect or even how much might needed to be there. What I'm trying to do is, if I've got somebody that works, let's say the morning shift, they clock in at 7 and they clock out at 4. Well, that's part of their shift. They're working a little bit extra. They're getting overtime perhaps for that time. They're not really working a separate shift, so I don't want to give them an extra $2 an hour for that half hour they go over or anything like that, or any part of whatever it is. They worked the morning, they're just staying a little bit later. It's still considered regular pay rate as far as that goes. Same with shift 2 or mids and Graves. But again, sometimes on those shifts this may be at 0, and if they go from mid and go an hour into Graves, they get paid that extra. So we might do $1 an hour here, dollar amount, D4, and these are just random codes. Your payroll earnings codes would define what we need to put in here uh, for these. So now I've got a complete day, 24 hours. This is Sunday, and at this time, this shift might be for every day of the week, or it might just be on weekends. If it was just on weekends, I would copy each one and then copy to Saturday and click copy. And then I would create something different for Monday through Friday if that were the case. But we're going to assume that this is 7 days a week, nothing for mornings, $1 an hour more for mids, 3:30 p.m. to midnight, and then $2 an hour more on graves from 12 to 7. And I'm going to copy that to each day of the week. I'm not going to do Sunday because I already have Sunday. If I checked this and clicked copy, then it would create 3 more instances on Sunday. I don't want that. So I just do these, and you have to remember to do this copy. If you save first, all you're saving is these 3. So click copy, and there we go. Looks like a big, huge mess, but basically it's going to do what you're asking it to do. Now I can click save. And I see my shift diff right here. The next thing to do is to assign the employees to the shift differential. This can be done here, or this can be done in the employee details company members list, one at a time by clicking edit, scrolling down to the bottom and clicking on shift differential. We have 2. This would be my shift diff. And honestly, the way that we have this set up doesn't matter which shift they're on. As long as they're working that shift for more than 60 minutes, they're going to get that overtime. But if it is a grave worker, maybe we want them to be on a 1. A lot of it's up to you on how you are configuring that differential to work. And remember, on those fallbacks we looked at, this is going to be that fallback that they get paid if nothing happens. So our shift 2 would mean that they're just going to be paid their regular rate if they work on any area outside of what our defined shift differentials are. This would be that fallback assigned shift. So we can click save, and then we could go on to the next employee and click edit and change them. Now, a way to do it faster is going to be back here under the configuration, rule setup, and shift differentials, where I had pointed to earlier, and that's this assign employees. We need to see who we want to assign to shift number 1, or maybe we just assign everybody to shift number 2. Again, depends on what you're going for when you're creating this differential. I'm just going to use 2 and then select. I can see that Veronica's already assigned to it. Now I can click filter, and that's going to bring all of my employees in, and at that moment I can check off who I want. This is going to be sorted by the other ID, but if you needed to be sorted by first name or last name, just click where it says first name, and now it's A to Z based on the first name. Click on last name, now it's A to Z based on the last name. Pretty simple. But if it's easier for us, we may choose the division and division 1, then click filter, and these are all the people that are in that division, and I could just click here, click confirm, are you sure, and OK. Now I've quickly assigned the people in that division to that specific shift differential. I hope this helps explain a little bit on that. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your technician. Thank you.